probably the number one thing that would make me want to like not buy an E46 is just that noise. In April this year, I sold my Toyota Chaser JZX 100, and for the past few months, I've been lucky enough to drive some of the best performance cars on the market. And while they're awesome and they're insanely fast, and it's really great to have something brand new to drive every day, my heart still yearned for something a bit more raw, a bit more analog, a bit more emotional. And my two options were a Lexus ISF or a BMW E46 M3. A couple of weeks ago, I drove the Lexus ISF, which was a very, very convincing car. But after thinking about it a lot and going through the motions, inspecting many, many different cars and test driving multiple examples to try and find the right one, I'm very, very excited to introduce you to my new to me 2001 BMW E46 M3. If you're new here, my name's Pat and welcome to 2PJZ. I've owned a lot of old BMWs in my time and I absolutely love them. If you follow me over on my Instagram and you've seen a little bit about what I do there, you would know that for a fact. This is my 8th old BMW, but it's my first M car. And if you're part of the Lexus ISF camp and all the deliberation that I was having over the past few months, there may be many questions that you're asking about why I ended up with this, because it looked as if the ISF was going to be my next car because that was stupidly convincing for a purchase. And I very, very, very nearly did it. But we're going to answer all those questions when we get into a drive very shortly. But the first thing that I want to do is introduce you to this car, show you a little bit around it, and then we'll jump in and go for a burn. But before we get into a tour, I want to show you some highlights of a little burn that we went on just before I filmed this segment with some mates. There's some pretty wild cars here, so enjoy. So from the outside, it looks like a pretty standard BMW E46 M3, and that's pretty much because it is. There's not too much really that's different to how the car left the factory in 2001 on this particular example. It's in carbon Schwarz, which is one of the most common, but also one of the most popular and one of the most beautiful factory colors that you could get on the E46 M3. There was a reason why it was chosen so often, and that's because it looks stunning. In the overcast weather, it looks like more of a purple or black, but when the sun hits the car, it's got this beautiful dark blue that really, really pops through in the metallic paint. I've only had this for a week now, and every time I look at it, it's just, honestly, it blows me away. I'm so, so happy. This actually wasn't my original color preference. My first ever car was a BMW E46 325 Ci in topaz blue. And for years I thought topaz blue was the only choice for me. This car was among a field of M3s that I was choosing between. It's a really, really good time to buy these cars, which we'll talk about a bit later. But when I looked at the complete package of this car, what it had, the money that it would save me in the long run with mods and things that I already wanted to do, this was the obvious pick, and you're about to see exactly why. So, first thing I want to say is please excuse me, we've been smashing the car all morning, so if it looks a little bit dirty and there's a bit of brake dust on the wheels, that's exactly why. I've had to break it in though, I suppose. There's only two real obvious external physical changes to this car over what they came with from factory. The first is these. These unfortunately aren't genuine CSL wheels. These are the VMR wheel, which is pretty much a one-to-one replica of the factory CSL wheel. They're pretty strong, they're good. They're not what we'll be keeping on the car. We will be changing these wheels. And the other is this. On the CSL theme, this car also has a CSL style carbon boot lid. Again, this is something that I'm not sure whether I want to keep long term or not. I would like to obviously find a factory CSL boot lid because I am a fan of the whole OEM Plus type build, as I have done in many of my cars before. But genuine CSL boot lids are so expensive now, so maybe we can do that down the line. This doesn't have the best fitment in the world. You might even be able to see on camera there that this side is perfect, but the other side is not that flush. So I do need to take this off and get this realigned at some point. However, I really love the CSL boot lid. It's such a better look, I think, than the stock boot lid. It just gives the back end a bit more angle, a bit more shape, and really looks super aggressive from behind, particularly when you've got the meaty fitment that these rear wheels have. And this is the reason you buy an E46 M3. Under the bonnet here, you have one of my favorite engines ever built, and that is the 3.2 litre naturally aspirated straight six called the S54, one of BMW M's most legendary motors ever. Of course, the last naturally aspirated six-cylinder BMW M3 ever made. So this is a special piece of history to now have in my possession. You've got the factory strut bar that came with all the M3s. There's literally nothing done to the engine. One thing I do want to do, that I definitely want to do ASAP as well, is change the stock plenum out for a CSL carbon plenum with the whole intake system to open up that engine noise. And with that done, I honestly don't know if I'll get an exhaust or not, but I really want to open it up. It sounds great stock because this car has ITBs, which you may or may not know, but it really needs a little bit more intake noise just to be that little bit more intoxicating when you drive it. And I honestly think this car would be perfection. Inside the car is probably the only way that you can tell that this is a UK import, and that's because the cluster has miles per hour on the outside and kilometers per hour on the inside. Besides that, there'd be no other way to tell. One thing that this car has that we didn't get that much in Australia is on the seat. There's a bolster option for your front and side bolster on the seat, which is a little bit more extra adjustment, which is pretty cool to have. So when you're doing some hard hills driving, you can actually make the seat a little bit firmer. And although these seats do slide around a bit when you're up in the hills, as I found out this morning, that does actually go a long way to making sure you don't completely slide out. A couple other cool features inside the car is rather than the factory head unit, we've got a Dynovan wireless Apple CarPlay unit, which looks OEM, which I'm really happy with. This was something that I wanted to do myself, and I've saved myself about $2,000 by having this already in the car. The trim also is the really rare diamond cube trim. On the door trims, it's a little bit faded and scratched, so I do want to send this off to a place in the UK that can actually refurbish this for me over time. It's got an F10 M5 gear shifter, which is a little bit heavier than the stock one, which was really nice. Feels good in your hand. And the throw on the stock shift I'm a big fan of, but maybe we can get a short shifter at some point. You've got factory Alcantara that's pretty faded now on the gear knob and the handbrake boot. The last thing to point out in the interior is the headliner is an individual anthracite, which a lot of M3s were optioned with at the time, and I think that's the only individual option on the car.
You've now seen the car, you've got familiar with it, but I want to take you along with a very special moment that we all have when we purchase our dream cars, the very first drive. So come ride shotgun with me and experience my very first impression of my M3. Little language warning with this one too. I was obviously very excited.
Oh my God, I've just bought an M3. Wow. Dude, 17-year-old me would not be believing this shit right now. Oh my God, this is something I've been waiting for years, man, for years and years and years. I told myself I would get here eventually. Wow. Just looking out through those mirrors, seeing the big guards, holy shit. Fuck, dude, I did it. Wow, I actually own a BMW M3. Unreal. Actually unreal. Oh my God. Fucking hell, dude. Dude, I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. That's like, I'm so Oh, I'm just feeling it. I'm just letting myself feel that this is a moment that I've dreamt about for a very, very long time. I don't really know what to say to be able to show you how this feels, but it's just a massive sense of achievement. It's a really, really big sense of achievement. Like, I told myself I'd buy a new car if I sold out my first collection and stay driven, and that happened very fast. But I was still umming and ahhing because I still thought, oh, you know, like maybe I should just keep driving the press cars. Maybe I don't deserve something yet. But I thought, fuck it, I've worked hard, man. I've worked really, really hard. And like, it was either this or an ISF. And like, I had to go with this. Going forward, like, this is a car that represents everything that I feel so strongly about. I can't. I don't know what to say, dude. Like, fucking hell, I bought an M3. Yes! Yes, man. Fucking yes. Oh, dude. Now you're seeing what the car looks like and you know a little bit about it. Let's see how it drives. Here we are, completed the full circle finally after 27 different cars. And I now finally have my first ever M car. I'm so hyped about this. This is something that since I was, you know, a teenager, but particularly since I first got my license at 17, 18 and bought my first car, the E46 325 Ci, I've always wanted. And if you watched the previous video from a couple weeks ago, you would know that the ISF was a real contender for me. And that is a fantastic car. That was an awesome car. It genuinely blew me away so much more than I thought it would. But at the end of the day, like, this is just where my heart sits. This is the decision that I chose to make with my heart. The ISF would be making a decision with my head. And there's a whole bunch of reasons that we'll talk about soon, exactly why I picked this over the ISF. But the main one that you need to know is just that emotional connection. The ISF is a very emotive car. Sounds fantastic, the balance is great. It really surprised me when I took it down the Great Ocean Road, as I mentioned, but this is a hero. For many, many people, this is the ultimate M car. It certainly is to me. While we're up here smashing it around the hills, I am coming back down from doing my first real shakedown of this car now. And the first thing that I noticed about driving the E46 M3, and yes, I've driven a couple before, but you always drive your own car way, way harder than you drive anyone else's. And the first thing that I notice is that it is quite a heavy car. Like, it's perfectly balanced, it's got 50-50 weight distribution, and you certainly feel that when you're rolling through the corners, but it is heavy. It does feel like there's a lot of German muscle and weight that you're throwing around into each corner. However, it is really responsive, and that throttle input with the S54 just absolutely loves to be revved. The factory manual gearbox is really nice and tight. It's a really complete driver's package, and you can certainly see why this is one of the most revered M cars of all time. We've been on a drive with a few mates, which has been awesome, trying to keep up with a couple of E90 and E92 M3s and Ollie in his Porsche Cayman. It proved a big test because those guys have a lot of seat time in their car, but I definitely wasn't pushing 1010s. You know, we are on public roads. It was pretty quiet, but I just wanted to make sure I got a feel for the car and didn't push the limits. But I just couldn't stop smiling. Like, my face actually hurts now from smiling so much driving this thing through here. And it's a really special car. It's not even just the way that it looks when you stepped outside of it, but I think the biggest thing for me is, like, I catch myself every now and then looking down and around the car and seeing, you know, the M badge on the steering wheel or the famous M3 cluster. You know, you've got the 6-speed manual gearbox down here under your left hand, and that S54 intake noise, which we will need to improve at some point with the carbon intake. But this just feels like a car that was made for me. It feels right being in here. It's the easiest way that I can describe it. The three reasons that I bought an M3 over an ISF, the first one mainly is a bit more of a strategic one, I suppose, from a business point of view, that what I'm trying to do with 2PJZ and the brand, with how much I cover on BMWs, Porsches. You know, I do a lot with Japanese cars, obviously, but I think with where I want to take the brand, this is a better fit for the overall vibe, I suppose, that I'm trying to bring to my content. And it doesn't mean that in the future, if I can afford it, we can't get an ISF or some form of Japanese car to daily, because the Lexus products are fantastic. And the second reason is sort of attached to the first reason, and I think there's a lot more potential with modifications or things that we can do with this car together. Like, I think the ISF is pretty limited to wheels, coilovers, exhaust, intake maybe, and that's about it. Whereas with this, the options for modification or personalization, I think, are a bit more extensive. And yes, there is a lot of content on E46 M3s out there, but I hope that you're excited for this journey of me being able to take my own spin on it. And being such a fan of M cars and having owned several BMWs, I feel like there's a really unique perspective I can bring to owning this car, because it is a real dream. I'm sure it's a dream for you if you've clicked on this video. It's certainly a dream for me to be sat here right now. If, you know, I told myself at 17 that in less than 10 years I'd have my own M3. I would honestly be really surprised. I wouldn't believe it, and I'd be really proud, because it's a big moment. It's a really, really big moment. The third reason that I bought this over an ISF is for future appreciation or potential resale. Like, if you have watched my 26x26 series or my video that I made last year on all the cars that I've owned, you would know that I tend to move through cars pretty quickly. And I'm hoping that that is different with this car. I honestly really, really do, because this is something that I've always wanted, is genuinely in my top 5 dream cars, and that's a very extensive list of things that I may be able to afford one day and things I definitely won't be able to afford one day. So it is firmly a car that I've always wanted, and I've said that a lot about lots of hero cars that I've owned, but this one just feels different. And the day that I picked it up, it was the first thing I said to myself, and even spoke to Erin about it as well, saying that this car has given me a different sense of accomplishment to some of the other cars that I've bought. But going back to my point about appreciation and resale, is that I think this will appreciate more than an ISF. The reason I bought this and have bought so many of my cars in the past is because they will have that future collectability and resale. And I think this is the last period in time that we're seeing right now, with the sort of market going down with cost of living and whatnot, where you can still get into a car like an E46 M3 for a reasonably achievable price. I paid in the low 40s for this. You can get them all the way up into 60 or 80 grand depending on spec, options, kilometers or whatever. But a good setup E46 M3 right now will cost you between 40 to 50,000 Australian dollars. But this is the last time that you can actually go and get one of these cars at a good price. What people say, what I've always believed to be the single best BMW M car ever made. And so, casting the net forward, I mentioned before that this is just the start of a journey, and is part of me really investing into the channel and trying to build this into something really special for all of us to share. And is, what do you actually want to see with this? Because, you know, I could make 100 videos on this car, but if they're not things that you're interested in, then you're not going to watch it, and it's hours and hours of my life wasted. So I'm keen to know in the comments what you think we could do with the E46 M3 to do something a little bit different to all the other content that is on YouTube and the internet. Whether it's anything to do with mods, experiences, road trips, stories about the car, you know, comparing this car to other M3s, maybe even some Mercs of the era, its competitors, doing some more documentary style stuff that I really enjoy making. There are a lot of comments on my previous video when I asked you if you think I should buy the M3 or the ISF, what you think I should do. And the majority of the comments said, buy whatever makes you happy. Don't buy what you think is going to do better for content. And that stuck with me, it really did, because it makes me feel great that you want to see me just enjoying cars, doesn't matter what it is. That's a really cool feeling. So thank you for coming along for the ride. There is so much more to come with this car. Today's video was pretty rushed because we're in a big group with mates, but I hope you enjoyed coming along for the first real drive in my very own E46 M3. Thank you so much for your time today. I really hope you've enjoyed watching. My name's Pat. This has been 2PJZ. Don't forget to stay driven, and we'll catch you in the next one.